Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the live webinar on outcome-based threat hunting at scale, how Securonix and ThreatQ turn intelligence into action. My name is Jackie de Groen, and I'm an enterprise account executive here at Securonix in Europe. Before we start, let me give you a short introduction on Securonix. Securonix is leading the transformation of cybersecurity. We're driving the next era of intelligent, autonomous security operations. We do this with the industry's first unified defense team powered by agentic AI. And as many of you may know, we have been recognized for this as a 5-time leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for SIEM. And we're also recognized, as important, by our customers as the customer's choice by Gartner Peers Insights. Today's live webinar will be presented by my colleague Prakash Bulandagi, Senior Sales Engineer here in Europe, and Chris Jacob, who is our Strategic CISO Advisor. Together, they will show you how to break that bottleneck by combining context-rich threat intelligence with advanced behavioral analytics. See how ThreatQ's contextual intelligence powers Securonix analytics to detect stealthy attack chains, map the kill chain using MITRE ATT&CK, and trigger automated responses, streamlining detection, investigation, and response at scale. So what are we going to do today? What does our agenda look like? We're going to start with why SOCs are struggling with alert fatigue and slow investigations. Then we'll talk about how ThreatQ and Securonix can help. The colleagues will give you a live demo, and then we'll finish off by showing you some best practices for integrating these systems, these platforms. Pay attention, because we're also going to do a little quiz at the end of the webinar, and first right answers win a $50 Amazon voucher. So that's a cool thing. Now, something that's also important for today, please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A box or on chat so that we can address them at the end of the session or during the session. Now, without further ado, I hand it over to the team.
Hey, thank you, Jackie. I'll just begin with giving us a bit context in terms of what we are talking about, the threat hunting at scale. Just to tell you that this is something you probably know as part of the ongoing SOC, or you have a practice which is helping you to perform detecting some of the unknown attacks. So what we are seeing in the industry is typically these CISOs and the leaderships are a bit worried about. I do see a lot of attacks are happening, maybe retail sector or financial industry, but really not sure whether those attacks are also impacted my organization. So there are few challenges around that, because if you want to really build a threat hunting as a practice within your organization, you need to have really a good amount of data, not just limiting to 30 days or a week of data. You really need to have a data that can go historically, do a retrospect hunting of the data also. The second problem statement is around having the shortage in list skills itself. It need not to be just a skills, but also a lot of SOC team members are involved in day-to-day mundane tasks. They are busy with investigating the incident, or it could be working on the large amount of alerts. Those may translate into a false positives. So that's been one of the challenge as well. And then what we are seeing is a lot of manual activities, although there is a SOAR and automation is being in practice, but still analysts and the team members are spending a lot of time in terms of fine-tuning, developing the new content, but really get very little time or no time to perform a proactive monitoring or a proactive hunting in the organization. So then the other important thing what we have seen is this threat intel. Threat intel is very important source if you want to do a threat hunting in the environment. So how do you get a threat intel? There are some bits and pieces coming from open source, and there are different commercial feeds, but you really don't get a place where you have a unified threat intelligence that you can actually use it for performing the real threat hunting. So that's also been another challenge what we have seen. And followed by last one is what we see is around you have a lot of intel coming from some of the MITRE attack framework, or it could be a kill chain based analysis, or there are different sources. But how do you translate these different attack vectors? What is the attack pattern looks like into a searchable query in your analytics platform itself, right? Making the TTPs into actionable hunt is also another challenge what we have seen, right? In short, what we're trying to address in this webinar is threat hunting is a specialized team or a practice has to be in place that requires experience, that requires intelligence, and it requires an advanced tool which can allow you to detect the bad actor before making any harm to your organization. With that context, this will be a combined solution. So Threat Quotient is Securonix and company. Securonix made the acquisition about 3 months back. Now we have a better tighter integration between the Securonix and Threat Quotient. Threat Quotient will help us to get this unified threat intelligence. Then Securonix has already very rich in terms of data retention and the hot data searchable for you to hunt it. So we'll combine together, Chris and myself will show you some of the use cases, how our customers are making best use of this combined solution, helping them to move from reactive monitoring to a proactive monitoring. So with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague Chris to give some background and what we do as part of the unified threat intelligence.
Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for joining the webinar today. I'll introduce myself again. My name's Chris Jacob. I am the field CISO here at Securonix. I have been with Threat Quotient for the last 10 years as the Vice President of Threat Intelligence Engineering, and super happy to be part of the Securonix family now. And we're going to talk a little bit about how ThreatQ helps Securonix better together, if you will, and a little bit about ThreatQ overall, because I know a lot of people on this webinar are going to be SOC analysts, SIM users, maybe not as involved in the threat intelligence side of the house. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what we do. So first and foremost, what is a threat intelligence platform? Well, it's a platform designed for the threat intelligence team to be able to make use of the vast amount of threat data that's available to them, to deduplicate it, normalize it, and provide it to their stakeholders. And those people, of course, would be the SOC analysts, like most of the people on this call, but also the rest of the security organization. The more that you can contextualize the threat data and turn it into actionable threat intelligence, the better protected that enterprise can be. And that's really the goal of the ThreatQ platform. So some of the major areas we hit, one I talked about a little bit, data overload. There is tons of threat data available. Open source intelligence, or OSINT, is plentiful. Very expensive, but very good commercial feeds available from various vendors. And even internal data that is generated by your security stack, when overlaid with the rest of the security data, can become actionable intelligence. So dealing with the overload of threat data is the first step. Also, collaboration. What was discovered long ago is that teams don't tend to work well together. And it's not nefarious. It's not for any other reason other than each team is focused on their mission. And if you go back and look at some of the major breaches that have occurred over time, many cases you'll find that one part of, even in the security organization, one team may be responsible for vulnerability management, may have a particular piece of data that the team in charge of enforcement or in charge of threat intelligence didn't have, and it wasn't properly communicated. So by using a threat intelligence platform, you actually break down those silos, because that sharing happens machine to machine. Of course, limited resources is always a challenge, and so the ability to automate some of those mundane tasks. We're talking about enriching indicators as an example, things that analysts or SOC analysts have to do over and over again. We can automate that away, and then integrations to everything. Obviously, we're going to focus on our integration, which is ThreatQ and Securonix and how we fit so well together. But ThreatQ is built to be integrated across your security stack so that you can provide the latest contextualized, actionable intelligence to your entire security team. So you're going to hear us talk a lot about data-driven, and that is one of the building blocks of the ThreatQ platform. It is taking this seemingly mountainous amount of data and really distilling that down based on user-defined rules to get rid of the irrelevant data and really focus on what's relevant to the organization. Once you have reduced that to that relevant data, now you can take action on it. Many of those actions, again, can be automated, freeing up the time for the analyst to really dive deep into what needs to be investigated, what needs to be hunted, what needs to be acted on. So this is the final slide before I get into the demo. And this is what we call the Securonix data link engine. And what this really represents is the pipeline of intelligence as it moves through the platform. And if you pay attention to this slide, the demo should make more sense to you. We'll start on the left-hand side with the integrations to external data sources, internal data sources, all of your different tooling that can feed the data into the system. So we've got that ingest ring. And so that, again, is pulling in open source intelligence, premium intelligence, events from different systems in your security stack. All that data comes in, it's normalized, deduplicated, and prioritized. Correlation is done with the other data that's in the system, and then it can be exported out to the various tools that, again, make up your security stack. One piece of this that is often overlooked but is super important is that the arrows down at the bottom, that continuous feedback capture. Because what this means is it allows me to build on the tooling in my organization. So imagine if I'm on the Intel side and I feed a bunch of data over to the SOC via the SIM and something is alerted on. Now, it's great that the SOC analyst has that data to take action on, but what's even better is when I'm alerted on the Intel side that something I sent over matched, because now I can start to refine that intelligence, look around a little more, really zero in on what I need to provide the firewall team, the IPS team with so that they can enforce action on what we've discovered. And so we'll jump to the last slide here, which is just an overview of how our integration works. And so we'll show a little bit of this, but in showing the integration, you can't really see how the data moves. So we wanted to provide this as a flow. Again, all the information feeding into your threat intelligence platform, that data being prioritized, normalized, deduplicated, and fed into the Securonix Unified Defense SIM. When there is a hit, a violation, a threat, an incident, that can be passed. So that gets passed back to ThreatQ, and it creates this, again, this feedback loop that we talked about, where now I know that I need to send to the EDR, send to the firewall, etc. So I think let's take a break from slides for just a moment, and we can get into a quick demo. All right. And hopefully everybody can see my screen here. So where we are now is the default landing page in our threat library. And I wanted to start here. It's not the spiciest screen, but it does draw draws your attention to the fact that there's a lot of data in this system. I'm tracking 2.3 thousand adversaries, utilizing 910 attack patterns, and almost 500,000 indicators in this system. And this is actually a pretty small system. I've seen customers that are order of magnitude larger. But this illustrates how all of that data is coming in from these different feeds, and we are dropping it into the buckets. And then we also relate it with the other data objects that are in the system. So if I just pick on energetic bear here for a moment, I could see that this particular adversary has one indicator and 8 pieces of malware that are associated with it. I can see that this information has come from 3 different sources at this point. And that is one differentiator with the Securonix ThreatQ threat intelligence platform, is that we deduplicate that information. So instead of having a record from each one of these sources, we have one record that shows all the sources, all of the contextual information that comes from those sources, and then any of the relationships that we have about that source. And we can click on any of these links to pivot around in the system. So now let's talk about the integration, because I think that's what we're really here to see. So again, we have lots of information here, but what do I want to send over to the SIM? Well, I want to set up a scoring policy. Perhaps I'm a financial institution, and so I want to set things, the premium feeds are telling me that this particular threat actor is targeting financial institutions, so I want to raise the priority of that. And I want to basically pre-process this data. Of course, I could send this all over to the SIM, easily handle that amount of data. But what's going to happen from that is you're going to produce a lot of false positives, or really what I would call non-contextual alerts, right? They're not false positive in the sense that you told the SIM to look for this and it triggered on it, but it really just doesn't matter to your enterprise. So you want to pre-process this data. And I'll give you a simple example of that. If we just say, I want to look for these indicator types with a score of 9 or 10. So this is data that's in the system that through either automation or analyst work has met criteria that has bubbled it up to being a high score. And if we take a look at one of these, we can see the rule that, or the set of rules, in this case 3, that increase this score to push it over a threshold where it's going to be sent to the SIM. So as we think about that diagram, now I've got this data, it's being exported over to the SIM. Let's take a look at, well, before we move off this page, I just want to point out these are these data collections that I pulled up here. You can think of these as saved searches that can be built. You can continue to add context to this. So I could say, and the source equals, Alien Vault, right? So you can see I can add and remove filter sets to build out these data sets. And then I can save these, and I can even share them with other members in the organization. These become very useful, and they drive a lot of the rest of the system, as you'll see. So let's jump over into the dashboard and take a look at what's going on at the moment. So this is a quick dashboard that I put together, and I'll get into a little bit of how to build them. We don't have time to go too far into depth, but I could show you high level how we put these dashboards together. They're completely user definable, and again, shareable across the organization. So we can see that over the last 24 hours, there have been 100 violations based on the data that has been sent over to the SIM. And then we can see the status of all of those violations. So 50 of them have already been dealt with, have already been reviewed. So that's good. 25 of them are being worked on as we speak. And 25 of them are sitting in a not reviewed queue waiting to be picked up. And again, if you want a visual kind of pie chart breakdown of that, same thing. And then just for fun, I started breaking it down in different ways. So violation by category. So you can see the DGAs, Fast Flux DGA is at the top of the violation category right here, but closely followed by malicious domains. Violation by tenant. So if I'm in a multi-tenant system, where am I seeing the most? And then the IOCs, breakdown by IOCs and volume. Right. So again, just different ways of looking at the data. And then finally, at the bottom here, I have just a list of all of those violations. And what this allows me to do is either with the little eyeball icon, I can take a quick look at it. Or if I want to jump in completely, I can, let's say, how about this guy? I can jump over to this particular violation. I can see all of the information that's come back from the SIM, from Securonix. I can see the indicator that was caught up in that violation. And then again, I can pivot into this indicator and see what we know about it. And so in this case, I guess Malpedia's or abuse.ch has given us a little bit of information. I can see other events that are related to that this indicator has been involved with. Interestingly, they're all violations from the SIM, so that could tell me something. And if I have any operations installed, I can actually run, one-off enrichments against this particular indicator. So as an example, I can go check with VirusTotal to see what else it knows about this particular indicator and pull that information back. Now, that would be one-off for just this one indicator. And this is what drove us down the road of our ThreatQ automation, or TQO. And the purpose of TQO is not to take the place of, the big automation systems that are out there, or even the power that that comes with the Securonix automations. This is really focused on that repetitive enrichment type stuff that threat analysts have to do. And so, as an example, if we're doing NVD lookups on CVEs that come in, all the time, every time we get a new CVE, we have to go do this NVD lookup. You can see we can do it manually one-off the way that we just showed it, or we can build out a workflow here. And it's a very simple breakdown of, I define a data collection. Remember, we talked about those saved searches, how often I want them to run, and then what enrichment I want it to run against. And, in this case, it's a single pipeline through, but I can add other enrichment sources as well. So I can, MITRE mapper, I can add and remove tags, I can look up data in domain tools. So all of this stuff is available to me, and I can build it out as an automation. And then, again, that finally ends up in the threat library with enriched data that gives me more contextualized data to send to the SIM and starts that cycle all over again, looking for new violations. So that was a very quick and high-level demo. If anyone is interested in diving deeper into the threat intelligence platform side of the Securonix offerings, please feel free to let us know. We'd be happy to set up a deep dive demo. And again, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. This is very insightful. So what we have seen is essentially collecting the information from external sources, making it as an actionable intelligence. So that's the more of a threat quotient, how it's gonna, ThreatQ is gonna make the informations coming from various sources and feed it to an analytics platform. So in this section, what we'll cover is Securonix is a unified defense SIM. It has the ability to collect and keep the data for a longer retention, as well as you can search this data also. So how we will take this intelligence, make it as a more real, detecting the threats before any damages happens to your organization. So in short, the solution, what we have is it's a 4-step process, and the threat hunting at a scale can be performed if you have this process in place. So from a Securonix and ThreatQ perspective, what we do is the first one is more of a preparation, because you need to have a very strong foundation layer, which gives you an ability to collect the data from various sources. Securonix has about 700 plus connectors to collect the data from literally cloud, perimeter security, or an endpoint. So you have that data available, not just about the raw data, which is available in the flat format, but we also do the data enrichment at the time of ingestion itself, which happens in a real time. So meaning you get a data which is in a very super enriched. It has the context. Whenever you want to do a search or a hunting of the data, you get it a better results in terms of what you are actually looking for. And then we bring in this intelligence. Intelligence will also be used part of the enrichment, which will tell you that precisely if there are any malicious domains or any connections are already happening within your environment. So the system will produce you those output also, saying that definitely this is making an CNC connection to a known bad IP address. Yeah. And then we have created one more solution because one of the customers, keep on saying that it is good. You can maintain the data for 1 year log retention, which is good, but my cost will be very high, right? If you really want to maintain it. So that's the reason we have introduced something called as a data pipeline manager. So one of the tier in data pipeline manager, what it does is it takes the data, it does the enrichment and normalization and keep it in the hot searchable format for you to do the hunting. So we have specially created this solution just for this one to work, how we can make this threat hunting working at a scale, right? So that's a very unique to what we bring it into, performing the threat hunting for customers and how we do it as well. So using some of our modules also. The second piece is making this real. That's where our autonomous threat sweep comes in picture. So when I say autonomous threat sweeper, it's one of these services from Securonix. It's the real people who are sitting in the back end. They do go through all these attacks which are happening, emerging attacks, data coming from the threat queue. They really convert these TTPs into a threat hunting query. So that they use those hunting queries, run it in the platform retrospectively up to 1 year, and then they produce you the report and the incident, which is going to tell you that precisely this is what we have detected in the system in your. So this is something we run it seamlessly as an extended arm to your SOC team, so that you don't have to look at having one more layer of a team, or probably how am I secured, or am I affected with any new emerging attacks? So these things you can get to know about using the ATS team will take care of identifying those threats. And the next one is, it's very important whenever you find any new finding, you have to report it to incident response team to take action on that. Not just about taking the action, but also how do you make these new detections as part of a threat hunting becomes a content to your analytics platform, or it could be to your vulnerability management solutions or various tools that you have in the environment. So that's where the response piece comes in. And we want to make it as a continuous process, meaning this hunting will happen seamlessly, and new content which is being created will also be published to the Securonix platform, so that our platforms are up to date about any emerging attacks those are taking place in the environment. And to give a few examples in terms of how is Securonix unique when it comes to detecting these unknown attacks or emerging attacks. So we rely on some of the important elements around the behavioral-based detection. Behavioral-based detection models allows us to detect some of the unknown attacks because it works on certain pattern-based, and whenever there is a violation to the baseline, that's when we'll trigger it. But take this data and we also stitch it to make it as a meaningful information for threat hunter to consume it. So that's a model what we use it called as an adaptive threat model. So this dynamically identify any threats by stitching the different violations. So violations could be happening the network scanning at the first, but followed by the suspicious AD authentications and all. So these events can happen at any point in time at a different time intervals. This could be a slow and low attacks happening between multiple days to multiple weeks also. But we do keep a track of this one as a threat model, and it detects those attacks in any of the stages that we feel that this is a time where you should do an action also, or use this as an input to further expand your hunting query itself in order to uncover some of the unknown attacks in the environment. I'll show you some of the demo environment, how does it looks like, but just before getting to the demo, a couple of other information about our autonomous threat sweep. So what we do is essentially the external intelligence which will be collected by the TQ. They will enrich it and prioritize it, make it as an actionable intelligence that will be passed on to our ATS team. ATS team is the one who will extract the specific IOCs and codify these TTPs to make as a meaningful hunt query within the platform. And they will perform these hunting queries in the system. They run it through it in the backend seamlessly, and then produce you the reports and the incident to customers saying that we have done this latest attack, which was having the TTPs associated with lateral movement followed by data exfiltration. So this is a query for this one. We have done these activities, and this is the output that shows that there is a definitive incident that is taking place in the environment. And also we take this data and feed it back to the ThreatQ platform, so that this ThreatQ platform can also extend this intelligence arm to larger security teams within the organization. So it could be a firewall team or a SASE team or any of the security team who want to also consume this threat intel information also. Yeah. To give a quick statistics and some information about what is that the ATS team has delivered in this year. So we have literally look at about 700 emerging attacks. These are being reviewed by our team, and when we do this review, we do it by customer context. For example, if it is a retail customer who is using our solution, so we look at what are those relevant TTPs, the emerging attacks pertaining to these retail organizations, what are the threat actors behaviors looks like it. And then we review those TTPs, find out the relevance, and perform the threat hunting in the platform. So what we found is about 400 plus potential investigations are being performed, which translate into about 57 confirmed incident which has been escalated to customers also. So by doing this, this will give a good extended support to the SOC team. SOC team need not to look at having one more team, or probably it can also complement with existing threat hunting team. If you already have one, it will complement very well and make it as a continuous process rather than doing it one-time exercise. Some of the customers rely on third parties. They come once in a quarter, do a tabletop exercise or a red teaming exercise. they uncover certain things, produce a report, and then the SOC team will end up working on it, try to produce it. But how do you kind of make it continuous? So this is the way how Securonix works, and our customers make best use of this solution. Some of the productivity gains with this ATS solution is essentially we have seen in this year about 293 hours of time saved by each customer per month, which is translating to about 2 FTE equivalent man effort is being as an productivity gain. And it really give a good strategic value to customers, and especially for giving the return of investment, producing what is the value that your SOC is delivering it to your leadership or the CISO team in terms of showcasing those real value itself. Yeah. With this, I'll take about 10-15 minutes time to just do a quick walkthrough of our platform. What do we do it? So if you look at this one, other thing is the ATS findings, the advisories are publicly available, and I'll share you this link also in the chat box. But just if you look at this one, this is an security community wherein our team is publishing those advisories. The most latest one is the not door malware, which has been looked at it yesterday, and you'll see all the advisories from the Securonix team. So this is a good insight for any SOC analyst to kind of review what are the new latest threats is being seen. And also there's a question, say, this is a good one advisory, I might get it from many sources, but how do I translate this advisory into real query itself, threat hunting query? So this is an example where our team has looked at what are the different seems to be a rat, which is a Trojan, which had got certain IOCs matching to this one. There is a publisher also who has first reported about it. This seems to be a Kaspersky who has reported about it. And then the ATS team has created these threat hunting queries. So these are the queries specific to the Securonix platform, which our team is taking it and using it for performing the threat hunting in the platform. So you can see this query, you can take these queries. If you're already a Securonix customer, you can straight away go and take these queries and run it in your spotter, which will also help you to validate if there are any matching indicator of compromise in your environment. Or you can use this TTP information further to translate it for across other security tools as you need it, right? This is a GitHub community, again available publicly for everybody to make best use of this one. And then what we do is also, if you have your in-house team who is looking to do some sort of a threat hunting, one of the challenge what we have seen is making these hunting queries. Hunting queries could be, you might have a good hypothesis or a scenario which you want to start doing the hunting, but many times the team lacks in terms of translating that into a query itself, because there is a knowledge that is required to know about how the query language works. So to mitigate that one, so what we have introduced is this is Securonix Spotter. Spotter is a tool place where you can search all the data in the environment up to last 1 year. So this is the hot data that's available. Either you can use this Spotter query directly out here, or you can make use of this AI agent. This AI agent will essentially translate any sort of a plain English into a Spotter query. Just to take an example out here, so this is my query, which I put it in natural language. It translated into Spotter query, and then this is something I can run it in my environment to see what's the data is matching to this one. I can go further little more queries which are very important for me to understand about. For example, I want to know about all the traffic having beaconing statistics from my environment. So I can run this query in a plain English, again translating into a Spotter query, which is giving me a results that these are the different destinations. These are the source IPs for which my systems are actually communicating, and also along with the count available. This is a good starting point for you to start looking for some of those unknowns for which you are or you don't have a content or a use case for detecting those threats also. I can go a few more examples also. This is an example of how I can make use of threat intel coming from ThreatQ and use that one to hunt in my environment. What it is giving me a data is I have collected the information, and there is one user, Richard, his machine is connecting to 2 external IP address, which found to be a malicious. So this is the information I found it, and I can make best use of this ThreatQ platform in order to detect it very quickly, these kind of things, right? And other examples, what I can also go is just to, show you some examples how we can make use of ThreatQ platform to do the data enrichment for my detection. So this is an example where I found that there is a machine which is making a communication to external domain. I really don't know whether this is malicious or not, but I use the ThreatQ platform to look at what is the risk level, what kind of a description it is. So I take this information, which I use to, I will use it to identify this is definitely a malicious, and then start doing the investigations or report it in terms of, going to the next set of response activities also. The other example that Chris mentioned about is it's not just about, collecting the data and feeding it to the SIEM, but is it really working in SIEM? Is it really helpful in my environment, right? So what we have done is, this is an example which shows that I have received the intel information from a ThreatQ. I have done the enrichment and also found that there is a machine which is making a connection to external entity. This seems to be a robotic behavior, meaning I could see there are about 1,000 connections making to the external IP address, which found to be a malicious. And also it's very abnormal kind of traffic looks like, because this communication is happening every 1 second difference or apart between each connection. So, and we take this data and feed it back to the ThreatQ also, so that they kind of understand how is this my intel provided to the Securonix working, and do I need to make any few changes to it, or can I share this intel to larger team? So that kind of a communication that we can have it, make the threat intel team more real, more useful to the the whole security ecosystem within the organization itself. And of course, I can also do the validations, make use of Securonix SOAR platform to contain this kind of an in this kind of an threat in terms of blocking the IP address, and also pushing it to the proxy and the SASE platform to ensure that I don't see any sort of traces of this similar attack that's happening in my environment also, right? So this is how the both Securonix and ThreatQ platform work together, make it more meaningful, outcome-driven threat hunting, working at a scale for you. And also other piece is I talked about the threat model, which we call it as a adaptive threat model, is one of key thing that we see it. Mainly our customer use it for proactive security monitoring using this model. So what it essentially does is it keeps track of all the violations happening in the environment, both fact-based detection as well as behavioral-based detection. And the outcomes are being stitched in different stages. So these stages are defined by the platform through the ATM. And you will see these violations might be having at a different time intervals, need not to be on the same time, but the system is intelligent enough to stitch all together and tell you meaningful way in terms of where exactly this right now sitting in the environment. So using this, what you can actually do is you can go further to do the investigation, and also it brings in a way of predictability to you in terms of what is that attacker would do as a next step. So with this model, you can actually this is an attack where a privilege escalation followed by data theft. And one of the stage, if I look at the stage 3, where the system has collected the Windows events information, it defined a baseline looking at last 30 days of data. But on this specific day, we have seen there is an abnormal activity that is taken place because attacker was trying to do the administrative shared access in the environment to do a lateral movement. And we can also bring you a predictability in terms of what would attacker do as a stage 4 and stage 5. So your team and the threat hunter will also clearly understand what is the next step that attacker might logically take as an actions. Yeah. And other one of the point which I talked about previously is most of the SOC team are busy working on many alerts, huge number of alerts. They are experiencing burnout because there is a huge false positives in the environment. So we use this noise cancellation, which is an AI engine which runs in the environment, and it tell you what is the noise in your environment, and it also gives you a prediction in terms of what is those and how do you reduce this noise, how you can do it. So this is an example where there is a huge amount of violations are being seen from this specific policy, but it's coming from a single user, John in this case. So what do you need to do on this one? So you can make use of this agentic AI, which tells you about the summary and the recommendation. So you can go ahead and implement these things, and then it helps you to optimize, take a control on the noise in the environment also. So with this, I'll take a pause out here, and there's a few more things that we want to cover as part of this webinar. Feel free if you have any other questions. But the idea is essentially we want to have this platform help you to move you from reactive monitoring to a proactive monitoring, which is a combination of ThreatQ, the Securonix platform, delivering this seamlessly to our customers on a continuous basis at a scale. Thank you. Jackie, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prakash and Chris. And I hope it's been also very insightful for all of you. And it's going to help you to get a better understanding of how to keep your organization secure. Before we move to the question session, as now everything is still fresh in your head, we wanted to run the quiz. And please be fast, because the one who answers the question first correctly, of course, wins a voucher. So we start with question number 1. What is one of the key challenges faced in standard threat hunting practices within cybersecurity operations? Okay, we move to the next question. Yes, that was correct. I already saw a good answer. And the second question, what unique methods Securonix use to perform threat hunting at scale? Yep, let's move to the next. What's the right answer, Prakash? Yes, indeed, number 1 was A. Okay, the third question. What is one of the main functions of the noise cancellation agent? And what is the correct answer, Prakash? Indeed, suppress irrelevant and duplicate alerts. And then the last question, how much time did the autonomous threat sweeper save per customer in the first half of 2025? Per customer. And Prakash, what's the right answer? Yes, 293 hours. I think that's quite a lot. Anyway, I think we wanted to open the floor also for some further questions. We do have still 2 open questions in the Q&A box, Prakash and Chris. The first one is, how is the integration between Securonix UDS and the ThreatQ platform done exactly? Is it through the Securonix SOAR functionality, or is it a standalone functionality?
Yeah, I'll take that question. Be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. The answer is it's actually a combination of both right now. Both, we're very lucky, and both these platforms are built to integrate. That's what they do. They do a really good job of it. So right now, to push data from ThreatQ to Securonix, we're using what we call ThreatQ exports. And to report violations back to ThreatQ, we are using the SOAR functionality within Securonix. So it's a combination of both to get that feedback loop.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Let's go to the other question. So I understood threat intelligence enrich data in real time during ingestion, right? Or will it be used primarily for post-event correlation investigation?
I guess I'll take that one too.
Yeah.
And again, that is a great question. And oddly enough, again, the answer is both. So initially, pre-processing that data, and really you kind of think of it as a data pipeline to get to the relevant data that you want to pass over to Securonix. You're going to do some enrichment to decide to contextualize that data and decide what to send, but it doesn't stop, right? As we said, it's a feedback loop. So if there are violations that come back, we may find other related IOCs or related TTPs or what have you, and we'll do more enrichment at that point. So it is a continuous process as the cycle goes on.
Okay.
And I saw one other question that I don't want to get lost because it was in the actual chat side.
Yeah, good point.
And it was how can we use TTPs in the analysis sim? We're looking to shift the mindset from IOCs to TTPs and behaviors. And I wanted to make sure this didn't get lost because this is such a great question and something that we're seeing more and more of in the industry as we're looking to track adversaries less about who they specifically are or what their motivation is so much as the TTPs. What are they? Because it's very easy to change IOCs to flush your attack infrastructure and start new. Very, very simple. It's much harder for adversaries to change their behavior, which is one of the things that falls into TTPs. And so it is a important way to think about securing your enterprise. I agree with the need for that mind shift. And I think the direct answer to your question is it's through relationships. At the end of the day, your security stack is always going to speak IOCs, right? There's a reason that hashes and IP addresses and all these things exist because it's how things communicate. It's how files are measured. And so those are always going to exist, but we do have to raise that mindset up where we are tracking based on the TTPs and the adversary attribution, but still distilling down those relationships to the underlying IOCs. And if you think about that, it becomes a big pyramid. And then if you multiply that by the number of adversaries, it becomes a lot of data. And so again, this is where the better together, Securonix and ThreatQ relationship really helps, because ThreatQ helps you deal with that very large and always growing amount of threat data, right? And that's why we call it a threat library. You can think of it as your company's single source of truth as to what's it's being threatened by, and then the SIM on the detection side of it. And those two just play very well together.
Great. Thanks, Chris. I have another question here, which is a very pragmatic one. Somebody who missed a part of the presentation, but would like to receive the recording. And yes, for sure, we're going to share the presentation and the recording with everybody after the call. There is another question. Let me double check. There was one more question. This is... Yeah, this is for you, Prakash, I guess. How quickly can the system adapt to zero-day or supply chain attacks that don't match known patterns?
I think this is definitely required some sort of a behavioral based detection what we use in the system that already you might have the signals already in the environment. It's all about how do you make it real, matching to the 0 day. It's a combination of three important things is what I would say. One is you need to have the right intelligence about the 0 day. So unless you know about the intelligence, you really can't do much. But obviously, behavioral based detection model will help you to also look at those low fidelity alerts in the environment. And then you can actually start looking at why is it this abnormal. And if you kind of correlate it with the 0 day, you will be able to, understand what's a real threat that's happening in your environment. So key thing is you need to have a expertise, intelligence, and the advanced platform for the analytics, which combine these three would address that piece of 0 day.
Thank you, Prakash. And then one last question for you, Chris. I guess this is for you. How does this integration of the two systems change SOC staffing or skill requirements over the next 12 to 18 months? What is your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure it's going to impact staffing requirements per se. And skill requirements, I think it will help out. I think what we've seen is depending on where an organization is in their journey into threat intelligence, you have a SOC, you are just dipping your toe in the waters of threat intelligence. A lot of times that becomes one or two people within your SOC that are responsible for that. And that can very quickly become overwhelming. So in that sense, using a threat intelligence platform and one that's so tightly integrated to the rest of the security stack becomes very helpful. So it definitely helps with the skill levels. And it also helps you as you evolve because whether or not you continue in that model of using a SOC analyst where she wears a second hat as also an intelligence analyst, or you evolve to the point where you actually build a standalone intelligence team, you have the tooling already in place to allow you to grow and expand.
All right, thanks. I know before I'm going to close, I think there's an important, I see, is there another question? Oh, there's one more question. There is a question here, Prakash, for you. What's the difference between UEBA and advanced UEBA, threat modeling and adaptive threat modeling? And it's about our packages. So I think it's a good one for you.
This is more of the licensing and the packaging. So
Exactly.
depending on the use cases, what you have. So obviously the standard UEBA covers certain set of ML algorithms. If you want to have more of advanced, detection, so especially the insider attacks, so then you need to go for this advanced UEBA. Threat models are included part of the solution, but also you want to look for some adaptive threat model, which will continuously help you in terms of providing you those content related to threats model. So that's part of the adaptive threat model. Yeah, it's pretty much about the licensing in the past.
Exactly. And Prakash and I would be happy to help you out further if you want to learn more about our packages. So please reach out to us and we'll tell you more details about that. But now, before we close, obviously we want to know who won the prizes. So we have actually 4 winners, of course. So the first one is Pedro Neto. Then we have Simone Olimpio, Kevin Brocklesby, and the last one is Konstantin Protasenko. So congratulations, and we'll be in touch with you, and we'll make sure you will receive the voucher from us. Yeah, so with that, I think I'm going to close the session for today. Just wanted to highlight to you that next week we will be participating at the Gartner event in London, and feel free to drop by our booth. We're there at booth number 104, and obviously we'd like to also invite you to our social mixer that we're organizing for the Tuesday evening. That'll be nice to meet with the team and have a wine and some finger food with us on that. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. I want to thank our customers and our partners for helping us grow our business, and everybody who is considering to become a customer. Please call us, let us know. We will be happy to work with you, and we're happy to help you evaluate our services. And as I already mentioned, we're going to share the presentation and the recording of the webinar. And yeah, if you'd like to see the solutions in actions, you can also go to our website and request for a demo. And yeah, we're all here to help you evaluate our services. And we're all here to keep our companies and organizations as secure as possible. So thanks again for joining us, and have a lovely rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.